After Mr. Smith died, it was sold to a variety of people, but the general store continued. But at one point, there were some Jewish gentlemen from Altoona had a clothing store here, and I don't know if I have an anecdote to read about that or not. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it along. But in essence, they had a bar mitzvah here. They had a rabbi come in from Altoona to the railroad station, and he came up and bar mitzvah one of his sons. It was an unusual event for Beavertown at that time. And then it returned to being a confectionery store by A.H. Haynes, and then Mel Bub had a restaurant, and then Fitzgerald had a restaurant, then Walker's had a restaurant, then Bailey's had a restaurant. And my dad had a little stand in there for a short while, and then it was vacant until the bank started. It's been the bank ever since. But now Moses had competition, but the competition never got to the point where the stores did. Moses' store with H. Garsocks was this fierce competition. There was never that competition here. They just each had their own set of customers, and that was that. Now the next building on the square was this one right here. And I'm just going to give you a little story. I went to school in Germany at German University, and in a German encyclopedia, I was curious to know, would they have an entry on Beavertown? And they did. And this is what it said translated. Beavertown, Snyder County, Central Pennsylvania, noted for its ornamental wood buildings. And they were. And this is one of the few examples that remain of ornamental wood building. The little building up there, the high-pitched roof, up in the eaves, it just had all sorts of beautiful hand-cut, hand-carved wood items. During the winter months, the homeowners would make additional bric-a-brac to put on their house. And there was competition between everyone to have the most bric-a-brac and the prettiest bric-a-brac. I remember some of it. They started remodeling even when I was here in the 30s. But there was enough remaining that I knew what they were talking about in this German encyclopedia. It was noted for its ornamental wood housing. This house was built by Dr. I.D. Conrad. He was a graduate physician of the Jefferson Medical College from Philadelphia. He was therefore an ethical and college-trained doctor. In his day of practice, many people had no training whatsoever. In fact, barbers were the only physicians in some cases. If you had a barber's license, you were authorized to practice medicine until about 1880. But he was an authentic, and this little office, which is partially hidden, but there's a little building right off, that was his doctor's office. He was quite a go-getter. When he came into town, he decided we needed an opera house, and he launched the effort to get an opera house. He also, when the railroad came through, decided we needed another hotel right down by the railroad. And he built a great hotel, the biggest in town, called the Central Hotel, right along the railroad track. When he took an apprentice under his care to learn medicine, but this apprentice, while he was not a certified physician, was the only medical practitioner to treat the Union soldiers at the infamous Andersonville prison in Georgia. Andersonville was notorious for mistreatment, and he described to Dr. Conrad how he had to perform amputations with broken glass, no anesthetic, no alcohol, no nothing. And for some reason or other, Dr. Conrad changed his personality. These descriptions and his knowledge of medicine just worked on his mind, that for some reason or other, he became the sealer of weights and measures in Snyder County. It doesn't segue at all. He was a fine practicing physician. He was a town leader, and then all of a sudden, he continues those things, less so. He becomes a sealer of waste management in Snyder County, and he goes all around the county checking scales and pumps, and starts practicing powwow medicine. And then he became a ladies' man. And he had lots and lots of ladies. In fact, he had one lady right here in Beavertown, and I know her. She lived very near where I live, who he made pregnant. Very prominent family. And the offspring was also a very prominent man later on. He owned a business in town and all kinds of good things. I won't mention any names. But because she was about to file a suit against him for bastardry, he ups and sells his interest. He sells the Central Hotel. He sells his interest in the kiosks of the Opera House and all sorts of things, and just suddenly moves out to Newton, Kansas. There'll be other information I'll be discussing about Dr. I.D. Conrad as we go on the tour.